All right, so this is a suggestion via Discord. The name of the video is, why are young men running to support President-elect Trump? Analysts discuss. Guys, if you keep telling men, right, that inherently what they are is terrible and that they need to change and become more like a different gender, then how are you surprised that the person who says, you know what, masculinity inherently isn't toxic, right? How are you surprised that they ran from the people who yell mansplaining and things like that? You can't be that surprised, bro. But apparently, they definitely were, and I think this election basically proved the fact that men are basically sick of it. And if you continue it, then men are just going to keep doing the exact opposite of what TikTok in California wants, basically. But either way, let's jump into it.
I think men are better than they think they are. However, messaging has just gotten out of control from both sides. You take a look at the fact that across the board, didn't matter what race they are, males turned towards Donald Trump, turned away from the Democratic Party. And why? That's the real question that should be asked.
They don't even want to hear the answer to that.
In so many ways, the party basically dismissed him, left him out of the conversation, and not until the very end decided, oh, I better reach out and see if these guys are worth talking to. Yeah. And if you just look at the fact that we have, nobody, I think, in this country right now, the majority of people, believe in an equal playing field where everybody gets to participate and play. But when you start shoving certain things down people's throats that they don't want to have to eat, you're going to have to deal with the consequences of...
Guys, I'm going to be honest. I haven't heard this man speak in probably 20 years, right? His name is Montel Williams, I think. He was like a talk show host in the 90s and things like that. He is actually speaking the truth here. You cannot continue to do the craziness. I was honestly scared. I was scared. I didn't know the direction we were taking with this, guys. It could have went off the rails. But something tells me one of them are going to go off the rails. They're going to say the exact opposite and be like, oh, no, it is just that these guys just strongly detest women. Watch this. I'm forecasting.
They don't want to have to eat. You're going to have to deal with the consequences of forcing somebody to do something that they didn't want to do.
Well, there's the messaging toward men that Trump was doing, and then there was the messaging toward women that the Harris-Biden campaign were doing. I remember sitting at the Democratic convention and looking after 3 or 4 days and saying, not a whole lot of men on this program. And that's intentional because they thought this was going to be an abortion election, but was that a misstep?
I think that abortion being the top issue was obviously a misstep because we saw that it didn't actually bring out the women that they expected either. But I would argue that from the onset, the polling showed that there were stark divisions between what men valued and what women valued, which isn't actually surprising across this country. But the economy was something that everybody valued. The way it was messaged, I think, was problematic. But in addition to that, looking at the psychological aspect of things, men have felt left out for quite some time, be it whether it was social groups, be it whether it was leading to depressive states or other things. They've been very vocal about that. That existed long before the pandemic. I do think that there needed to be stronger outreach to men and men of all backgrounds. Mm-hmm. But in addition to that, there needed to be more men at the helm of the decision-making process on the campaign. A campaign that is run by a lot of women is probably not going to be the same campaign that can speak to men. I'm glad that we have this circle here because
Trump
it matters.
And Harris is...
I was surprised. Guys, I am constantly... I don't have to say anything. I'm not even disagreeing yet. Right? But let's continue.
Campaign were run by a mixture of men and women. I'm not sure. I think it's just about a theory of the case.
But no,
right?
a lot of the messaging strategies that were developed
the
to
messaging
men were developed to
nothing
men,
to do with men.
By white women. And I think that is a problem.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that, with the appeal with Trump, I think many of his supporters are kind of attracted to that brash, unapologetic, that tough guy kind of persona that Trump has always kind of had.
Okay. And so I think he's talking about a man, unbridled man. But let's continue.
I always think back to, the mid-'90s and late '90s when I was in college and high school, where you saw a ton of rappers that were name-dropping Donald Trump in all these songs. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that because all of them looked at Donald Trump as this unapologetic, brash guy that really pushed his success, his power plays, the art of the deal, all this stuff kind of made it what men look at as, okay, this is what I want. And men of all backgrounds. And I think that You fast forward to what happened in this election, and the dynamics of the populace of people that voted for Trump, men, women, Hispanic, white women, men in general, black men. It really showed that this election kind of teetered towards that, the catering towards men. And so it's just a thing where, you look at it and Trump has made a name off himself from doing this. And I think that was a big part of why he won the election.
Okay.
Scott, I'll let you jump in a second, but I think you might find this interesting.
Can someone say something crazy, please?
Has a podcast, many podcasts, but he's working on a book about what's going on with men in the country. He writes this: young American men are in a crisis of underemployment, under-socialization. Soaring college costs affect people regardless of their gender, but manufacturing jobs, once a ticket to the middle class for men without college degrees, have been offshored. Housing is increasingly unaffordable. Men are stuck. They are isolated, despairing, and unproductive, prone to obesity, drug addiction, and suicide, susceptible to misogyny, conspiracy theories, and radicalization. They make inadequate mates, employees, and citizens. It's a pretty dire picture that he paints there, and it seems what he's saying is that
it's valid, some of it, at least.
Well, I agree. First of all, I agree with most of everything that's been said here already, and I agree with some of this assessment. I do think we have a crisis of especially young men in this country, and they're in many ways disconnected from the rest of their families, disconnected from their communities, disconnected from our political culture, disconnected from our civil culture. And that's a real problem for a society that depends on all of us to be engaged and working together to make it as good of a country and as good of a society as it can be. I think the Democrats in this election made men feel like that the patriarchy is over, boys, and we're going to put you in the back seat for a while, and you're just going to have to accept it, without any thought to the ramifications of telling people who are out honestly trying to make a living, provide for their families, be good husbands, be good fathers. When you tell people who are doing their level best that either A, it's not good enough, or B, you're part of the problem, what do you expect? And then finally, as a political tactic, the attempt to put walls on the ticket, and that was going to somehow solve all of the problems that had been built up for years, was ridiculous, because it turns out Walz was the last person that men wanted to hear from. And I remember at the beginning of that whole campaign when they put him on, I sat right here and people were like, oh, they got camouflaged hats. They're going to be wearing them in the deer stands this fall. And I think to your point that you just made, that was not, that idea that was not formulated by a bunch of dudes who actually go deer hunting. It was come up with by a bunch of people who've never met a dude that actually goes deer hunting.
And also the same type of dude that would put like feminine hygiene products in the men's bathroom. Like this is the type of man that Tim Walz is. He did not resonate with men at all. Like, why would you put him of all people and then say, you know what, this is a manly man, bro? What do you know? He is not. He is not going to appeal to men. I'm telling you guys. Listen. So this entire election cycle, I've been kind of saying the same thing, kind of regarding this. It's like I don't know what exactly a straight man has to gain from being associated with the Democrat Party. I truthfully don't. I don't see it, guys. Right? I mean, I'm looking at it from all angles, and I'm just trying to understand. Like you must strongly detest you, right? If you're going to just consistently vote against your interest, right? Specifically as a man. But you know what? Do your thing, guys.
It was come up with by a bunch of people who've never met a dude that actually goes deer hunting. Right. But when you try to put that kind of window dressing on a real communications problem or a real relationship problem, it gets exposed immediately.
I did a fun little experiment. I knew we were going to be talking about this tonight. So I have a text chain that's been going on with my friends from college and law school for about 15, 16 years.
This panel is
all guys.
surprising.
Some are married, some are not. Some have kids, some do not. Some are former Democrats. They are all MAGA now. So I sent them a text.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Come on the show. We're going to discuss this issue of masculinity and MAGA. Can you give me some PG thoughts? I'm going on a family show here tonight. PG.
You may not be familiar with
give us
here.
Yeah,
they
will go to PG-13 if you want.
Well, we're definitely not going to be reading the text. I will put it to I heard a few certain things. MAGA is fun. MAGA is fun. I heard it time and again from each one. Yeah, MAGA is fun. One of them said, MAGA equals football and beer. The left equals HR and tofu. That was one of the nicer ones. Trump speaks to me. He speaks like a normal person. He's not a robotic politician. We can have a debate over what he says, but he speaks to them as a normal person. But the one thing that came across from all of them was, I'm sick of being told what to do. I'm sick of the media telling me what to do. I'm sick of the woke left telling me what to do. I'm sick of government telling me what to do.
I think...
What? Okay, listen. I didn't stop it there, but here's the thing. Guys, everything that just was said here was basically correct, right? And that's crazy. This is CNN. CNN doesn't drop gems like this. They don't do that. They're biased, right? They specifically only, for the most part, promote the establishment. It seems like all of these media organizations who are basically plummeting in ratings, and I mean plummeting. Like when I started to kind of dig into exactly how many people actually watch their content monthly, it's just like, bro, that is abysmal. If you were a YouTuber, you would have quit by now, right? But the thing is, guys, all of what they said was accurate, right? I mean, the Democrat Party has a man issue, okay, and they've had a man issue for a while, okay. So when you decided that you were going to put Kamala Harris as the leader of that Democrat Party, okay, and then every single time she speaks, she only speaks about women's issues, what do you think that's going to appear like to men that have already been complaining about the Democratic Party and their overall ideology, things that generally are irrelevant to most straight men? They're completely irrelevant. They're meaningless topics and talking points to the majority of straight men in America. But this is what happened. There you go, right? You lost your election because of that. And CNN specifically to be putting this up here just says that their ratings are so bad, they realize that they're going to have to change their tune. Similar to what MSNBC has recently started doing. Guys, like they have just made it so, you know what, we're going to start being somewhat down the middle. Good. That's a great thing. Like if you want to be center right or center left, guys, we're good. But as soon as you start going off the rails to the point where you're now just completely unhinged, either hard right or hard left is unhinged, both of them. Okay, they're unhinged. They say different things, but they basically are achieving the same level of like, I have a headache listening to you speak. Guys, reality. But yeah, you lost, the Democrat Party lost men, and I can definitely pinpoint roughly, I think at least, when it all started. It all started with Bernie Sanders. I'm telling you, in the Bernie Bros era. I promise you, when you decided to pack up Bernie Sanders, all of those people, the majority of those people at least, ran straight to Trump. And again, polar opposites, all right? You made people completely disillusioned with the Democrat Party. All right, that was basically the nail in the coffin, guys. But either way, listen, guys, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly. This is my lightsaber. Hey guys, you guys subscribe to the other channels, Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd, along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Oh, also, Mr. L. Boyd Discusses. Guys, check it out. And if you haven't heard it today, it's amazing.